Salutations, Imperial citizens and battle brothers. It's Brother Tobias, and I was at work. It's late at night, and the data slate happened. Look at this. All of this yellow just for us to go through. Well, not everything. As is tradition for every data slate video I make, I will only be talking about our stuff, which is Space Marines, Ultramarines specifically, and the overall changes for the game. So I will not be looking at let's say, the Demons Legion of Excess detachment over here. I will not be looking at that. Instead, I will look at Space Marines and glance over any glaring rules changes that might be up. So part of this is a live reaction, part of this is me already hearing what's going on the internet while I was at work. So no worries, I will get you up to date. First, we are going into the tournament companion. Let me see if we can do it like this. I think like this, it's pretty easy to read everything, even though I'm in the corner here. All right, here we go. Chapter approved tournament companion. So this is how the game is played. So the following has changed. Determine mission. Set aside the secondary deck. Note there is something missing here, which is explained here. You can score victory points by achieving secondary missions. Twist cards and challenger cards will not be used. Note, designer's note, blah blah blah. For this reason, we have not included the asymmetric war cards, the twist cards, or the challenger cards, which are left for pickup and play games where you can plan and prepare. So, all of this is the same. The important part is there are no more challenger cards in matched play, tournament play forever, I hope. This is a massive change. I'm still sitting on the Gladius video I wanted to make for the GT and the Super Major. I know I've been pushing this back a bit, but there's an entire section of that script I can delete and cut out of the voice recording because I was just complaining about challenger cards. Let me explain why challenger cards were so bad for the game. Challenger cards made playing the game a chore. It felt like doing homework. If the player who's going first is winning, you have to be careful to either completely table your opponent without any resistance at all, which is very difficult to do against good players, or you have to win by just enough not to give your opponent a challenger card, which was 6 points of a difference, and then on turn 5 prevent your opponent from playing the game by move blocking them, tabling them, whatever, just to make sure they cannot come back. And then you would have an incredibly close win. If you were the second player, your job was basically just sit around and do nothing, get your challenger cards, and on turn 4 and 5 you just kill your opponent, walk onto the objectives, and you win the game. Because challenger cards were completely busted. If you were ahead by 6 points, your opponent was actually just behind by 3 points, which, if your opponent is going second, means your opponent is winning the game. Because the player going second has a massive points advantage, which should be counted as like if you are 10 points ahead, you are barely winning against a player going second, usually. And challenger cards were just weird. Challenger cards led to really weird situations. Like you draw your secondaries, you see cleanse and secure no man's land, and you don't want to cleanse. Not because you don't have units that could do it. You don't want to cleanse because it would give your opponent a challenger card. And that could either be 3 victory points, so essentially your cleanse scored you -1 point. If you were ahead by 5 and then you cleanse for 2 and you were ahead by 7 and your opponent gets a card, your cleanse effectively didn't do anything because your opponent gained a point on you compared to when you were leading by 5, because now you are leading by 4 instead of 5, which is just silly. And you would just not do secondaries. I had moments where I walked off of my home objective to not score extend battle lines for 5. Excuse me, 4. And it felt so bad to play. You had to constantly do math about who's winning and who's losing, and this is just so good. Now you are actually rewarded for winning the game by surprise winning the game. Now, this will massively change how lists are built. I think you can now go back to running action units in your lists. Recently, I have been cutting scouts out of all my lists. I have not been running any scouts or any like Freeman Inceptors or something. I was not running any scoring because scoring was a scam. I would not do secondaries I didn't have to do. I would basically only score the passive ones. I would kill my opponent and win on primary and not give them challenger cards, because challenger cards, if they don't go for the points and your opponent gets a crucial extra move or advance in charge or move through a wall stratagem out of that deck, they can just flip the entire game in a way you were not able to play around, because you don't know what card they can draw. You don't know they will draw a card in a lot of cases, and then they just do something that you pre-measured. You made sure that Nightbringer on the middle objective cannot reach your home objective because it's too far away. But what if that Nightbringer moves 12 inches? Suddenly it can get you. No more challenger cards. This is a massive thing. This isn't what I expected to happen. I was honestly thinking Games Workshop would just improve the break point, which I thought they would raise it from 6 to 10. I'm glad I was wrong, because getting rid of the cards is just better for the game. Better luck next time. Now we don't have any mechanic at all. Now it's just the mission. There is a worry that now the game can feel very boring, and I do hope they will figure out something sooner than later, because right now you're just playing the mission and there's basically nothing going on. This will make fixed objectives a lot worse, because one of the points of going fixed against knights, for example, you would take bring it down and assassinate, is you can no longer score challenger cards if your opponent just stays in their deployment zone. If you take assassinate, bring it down, and the knight player just wouldn't step out, you would never score a secondary point, but you would always get a challenger cards if they scored some secondary. Like if they just put like a small armature on an objective and they did like a cleanse and stuff, and they get one primary or something, and you're just waiting for the big knights to step out to kill them. You can still just get the challenger card, and at some point they have to come out to win the game on like turn 4 and 5, and that's when you clap them and they die. I used that strategy to a lot of success recently against knight players, and now I can't anymore. I don't know if fixed is still good against knights. I will have to see. But yeah, that is just one thing. So this will change the game drastically. I will report back on my findings, how exactly that will happen. But yeah, so that's my thing on the challenger cards. They're dead. I hope they burn in hell. Next, we have core rules updates, and I will just briefly go and see if anything is red. I think they changed something about resurrecting models, if I'm not completely wrong here. Let's see, is there any red here? Because it was marked as new. Oh, here we go. When resolving a unit's attacks with multiple damage characteristics, each with devastating wounds, other mortal wounds at the end of that unit's attacks inflicted in the same order in which they were initially sequenced. Yes, okay. This is a clarification. So you do all of your attacks, and all the mortal wounds come at the end, and there are multiple devastating wounds. So basically, if you roll all of your damage 2 attacks first, and then all of your damage 3 attacks, the damage 2 devastating wounds would get resolved first, and then the damage 3 mortal wounds. Okay, I haven't had that come up yet, but I'm sure someone will. So what else do we got? Nothing here. Was there something? No. Is that the only thing they changed? Let me quickly go through the rules once again. If I can see something in red. I really like the new coloring system Games Workshop is doing for the changes, because it makes it so much easier to keep track of what's going on. So kudos to that. Thanks for keeping that up, James. A unit can embark within a friendly transport after every model ends within 3. Okay, so that is basically they fixed an error where Eldar were able to embark an entire unit in a transport, even though only one model was in 3 inches. That was a mistake. Nobody played it like that, but thankfully they fixed it. That was an error. And that's it. Okay, so nothing important on the rules changes. Let's hit the balanced data slate. Let's go full screen here. All right, the balanced data slate. They have done something new here, where they now split every faction into a separate page instead of cramming them all together, which I think is good. I think it makes it easier to look through everything. And core rules, no changes at all. Core rules. Oh, we can actually go full view here because there's nothing on the right side. Yes. All right. No changes on the core rules. The core rules are in a good place, I think. I don't think I would actually change anything in the core rules. Ever since they made Heroic Intervention 1 CP, I think they didn't have to do anything about the core rules. I think that's fine. Core rules are fine. Sororitas got a small buff to Retributors. They will now do a bit more damage to you. Custodes, nothing on the rules. AdMech. I will summarize this briefly because I know what's going on. Belisarius' Call essentially now gives Oath of Moment to AdMech, and a bunch of the AdMech rules just got better. Like a cover aura is now a stealth aura. All of the guns are now twin linked and stuff. Damage went up, shot count went up. Just AdMech got a big buff here, but a few of their points went up. No Eldar changes in the data slate. No guard changes in the data slate. Black Templar, nothing. Book just came out. Blood Angels. Blood Angels. Sanguinary Guard now hits on 2s and has an extra attack. That's the new one. Chaos Demons. Slanesh got changed. If the Slanesh detachment gives up fight first, they now reroll once to hit and wound. That is a lot better than just rolling to wound. It's not as good as it used to be, and always keep in mind all of the Slanesh data sheets are a lot worse than they were in the index. So don't get your hopes up about that one, and don't worry about the Slanesh demons anytime soon. Chaos Knights. Big changes here. 3 nerfs, actually. Number 1. The Infernal Lands can no longer get the 5-up invul and the 6-up Feel No Pain off of the same test. They now have to take a test and pick between the two. So this is actually pretty important because that detachment was basically better at being durable than the old Imperial Knights, which just felt weird. Lords of Dread, big nerf. The sticky strat can only be used at the start of the Knight player's command phase, so they can't just pop it whenever the hell they feel like. I've seen Chaos Knight players just stickying 4 objectives in like one turn because they would do one in your command phase, and then they would do one at the end of a pile-in at the end of the fight phase, and they would just do it whenever the hell they wanted if they had enough CP and the free selection here. So as a reminder, this is the sticky 5OC strat. I hate that strat so much, and a adjustment to it is actually very welcome here. Data sheets. The Knight Abominant. You can no longer mortal wound the same unit with all 3 Abominants if you brought 3 of them. That's honestly pretty good. I hate mortal wound spam, and this will take a dent in that. Chaos Space Marines. No changes. Dark Angels. The Lion L. Johnson now has a pick 2 ability, like Gilliman. Keep in mind, the Lion has worse abilities than Gilliman, but he's better at staying alive than Gilliman. So this is a welcome change because now Dark Angels players don't have to say, I have all of these abilities and I will never use them because my Primarch has to have to feel no pain against mortal wounds. So this is a good buff for the Lion. I like this. Hope we see him more. Death Guard, no changes. That's pretty crazy. I think Death Guard is still pretty good. But I do know I did a test game against the Death Guard after the changes, and I noticed the missing points are really, really, really missing. Death Guard feels a lot less toothed after the point drops. Death Guard, Death Watch, nothing. Dark Eldar, nothing at all. Emperor's Children, pretty good Emperor's Children, the flawless blades go to 4 attacks. Now they're actually doing something. This will be a massive change, in my opinion. It might actually make other detachments a bit better for Emperor's Children. Maybe you will see a few more. What's that detachment? The Peerless Bladesman. You will maybe see a few more of those. You might see some Carnival lists because giving Flawless Blades sustained hits with 4 attacks per squad is actually pretty good. Next, we have a rule that does absolutely nothing. Fulgrim can now move through terrain features which are 4 or less inches in height. This is completely irrelevant on Games Workshop terrain because you only have 5-inch walls and you have 2-inch walls, and you cannot move through 5-inch walls, and you could already move through 2-inch walls. So this is completely worthless outside of WTC terrain, and I'm not sure what the point of this is. Doesn't matter. Genestealer Cults, a lot of stuff happened, basically. Genestealer got a genuine buff. Their up-down stratagem is now at the end of the fight phase, like most other up-down stratagems, instead of being when they get shot at. Aberrants got reduced on bringing the small squad of Aberrants back, I think. I think that was 5 points before. And but Genestealer Cults got nerfed. The Primus no longer gives you full rerolls to hit. You no longer get crit 5s for 1 command point. Now you have to spend 2, and a bunch of stuff with the blip tokens. So yeah, Genestealer Cults got a bit nerfed. I think you will see fewer of the pure horde spam lists, and you might see more melee lists in the future. Grey Knights, no changes. I have to be completely transparent. I have not even read the Grey Knight Codex yet. I had absolutely no interest in doing that. I'm waiting for new models on Grey Knight so I can start my Grey Knight army, but yeah, it is what it is. I don't even know what they do. I have no idea. Imperial Agents. They're perfect. No need to change a single thing. Imperial Knights. Interestingly, nerfs, actually. You can now only target 1 knight with the stratagems in the, what's that detachment? Develop Strike Lance. Which, instead of 3 knights. So instead of paying 1 CP to target 3 knights, which was free with Canis Rex, you can now only target 1 knight. And you also don't reroll advances anymore. That means the meme thing of triple knights advancing in your deployment zone is now not a thing. So the panic, don't get panicked, it's fine. I think this will actually... I think knights are almost worse with the codex than they were with the index, because always keep in mind there is no way to give your entire knight army a 5-up feel no pain anymore, which was something that was just game over in the index. So I think knights are worse than they were, but they are still better than they were before all of them dropped by 70 points. So yeah, keep an eye out for knights. Don't take your melter and stuff out of your lists, because you still need to kill knights, but now it will be a lot easier. Leaks of Votan, no changes. I read that codex. I hate Votan. They're my least favorite faction. They were a huge mistake. They were terrorizing Germany for like 4 years now, and they're disgusting. I hate Votan, but I have absolutely no idea what's going on in that codex. I believe they fixed the disembark stratagem in an errata, so that's just what it is. The Silent King, Necrons. Pretty important nerf here. I was initially a bit outraged when I saw the Silent King went down in points, but here it is. The ability Bringer of Unity changed to Relentless March. Now the Silent King can give a 6-inch aura of +2 move, which is a pretty good rule. That is a good rule. But what Necrons lost is ignore modifiers. This means you can no longer ignore smoke and armor of contempt and -1 damage with your Doomsday Arcs by keeping the king close to them. This is a massive change. And I hope fewer people will bring Necrons to tournaments, because I hate playing against Necrons. Comment in chat if you ever had a good game against a Necron player. That was fun and stuff. Orcs. A bunch of good stuff. Basically, the Death Threat got nerfed. It replaced the Battle Shock rule with a Tank Shock rule. The Hunter Rig and Kill Rig is now Monster, which is important because it can now move through terrain a bit easier, because now it's only the base that counts. A bunch of stuff with Gaskell. Gaskell is just better now. He can fit into more transports. He can join more units. And then lastly, Commandos now split into 2 units of 5 instead of being 1 squad of 10. This is really good for Orc players. Orc players, I'm happy for you. This is great. Space Marines. Here we go. This is the important one. No red. No red. No red. Alright, no changes on Space Marines in terms of rules. So everything's the same. Interestingly, they have not changed the definition of who gets the +1 to wound. Because if you're using Codex Space Marine detachments, they have not yet said the new Raven Guard detachment and the Salamander stuff that these are Codex detachments, but just play it like that. We all know it's supposed to be like that. They will most likely, once all of them are out, say that in another document. So it's fine. So nothing changes here. I really wish they would remove this restriction on Desolation Marines. They're never gonna, because nobody misses them except for me. But yeah, I think it would be completely fine to keep them back in 10s. I think nobody would care. Nobody would play 10 if it was allowed. But yeah. Space Wolves, no changes in terms of rules. Tau. No changes on Tau. Thousand Suns. This is a big one. This is a really big one. Let's start with the one that is actually great, because I love Terminators. The Sorcerer and Terminator Armor now actually works how he's supposed to. Previously, after the Sorcerer shot, the unit he shot at would have reroll 1s to wound against it or something. And that was completely worthless, because if you're done shooting with your big Terminator unit with a Sorcerer in it, you wouldn't get the rerolls, because you would get them after you shot. Someone smoked one hell of a blunt when they wrote that rule. It was completely worthless. And now it actually works. So now you just pick a unit, hey, you, +1 to hit, and then the Terminators can smoke it. Terminators are actually pretty good, people have found out. And I believed in them the entire time. They're actually pretty annoying. Here we go. There's a thing here. This one isn't important. This is just a formatting thing. It still works the same. Important. Thousand Suns can no longer attempt to cast a spell they failed. Previously, Thousand Suns just didn't have any downside to their army rule. They would get a mortal wound sometimes, and they would just put it on a random model in their unit. For some reason, they were allowed to do that, instead of putting it on the caster. Yeah, so this is actually pretty good, because if they failed the spell, they just would try again. Oh, my unit has 2 sorcerers in it, and I failed on the first. Let's just try it again. They would just, like, oh, I failed my reroll 1s to wound. I will just do it again, and then it works. The Thousand Suns army rule is effectively you have Oath of Moment, Grenade, Fire and Fade, and Ignore Cover. Basically, you have basically 3 stratagems and Oath of Moment in your army rule. Yes, you have to roll a test, a dangerous test, which doesn't actually inflict any danger at all. Now you just have to roll an 11 on 3 dice. Like, I have played against Thousand Suns a lot. One of my clubmates, shoutouts to Julian, he's my most respected clubmate. And he plays Thousand Suns. He plays them incredibly well. I had great games with him. I had great games with other Thousand Suns players with the new book. And that army was so close to being broken, but it was held back tremendously by Death Guard and Knights being top tier. Because Death Guard had so much efficient throwaway stuff, they could just outgrind the Thousand Suns, because they just had twice as many units that did the same amount of damage. And knights were just always knights. Thousand Suns really good at killing like a big knight in like one snap, but not 5 of them at the same time. So I think Thousand Suns were actually held back by the top of the meta, but they were like just below those armies. And if they didn't get any changes at all, they would have been the best army in the game after those two got nerfed. Like, completely no questions asked. Thousand Suns were way too strong. And now there's actually a chance that their 15 rules can fail sometimes. So that is something to look forward to. Good riddance, Thousand Suns. No changes on Tyranids. Tyranids are doing completely fine. That detachment is pretty strong, the one with the tunnels, but the change to it where they can just pull themselves out of combat, very welcome. Thankfully they did that. World Eaters. Exalted 8-bound went from being completely useless to being pretty good. They are now +1 damage against vehicles and monsters. Keep that in mind if you play against World Eaters with your Roboute Gilliman and your Redemptor Dreadnoughts. Those Exalted 8-bound, they will rip you apart. And the character now goes to Strength 10. That's the one they released with the Codex. So yeah, overall, on the rules side, I think this is a good data slate. I think AdMech might have gotten too many buffs because AdMech was doing pretty well. At least over here. Like I was playing a GT and I was playing like a few RTTs, and AdMech won like a bunch of them. Like our GT was won by AdMech. Our last RTT had AdMech in like second place. And so, like AdMech is doing pretty well. AdMech is doing really well in the current meta. So yeah, maybe that was a bit a thing. But yeah, Thousand Suns got kicked, thank fuck. Orcs got some help. They needed it. Orcs were doing really poorly, but I do think Orcs will actually make a bit of a comeback because Orcs are a faction that hated Challenger cards the most. They were like the Orcs got screwed over by Challenger cards the most out of any faction. Last but not least, here we go. Points changes time. Can we see everything? Yes, we can. Okay, so I don't need to minimize the page. The Munitorum Field Manual, point 3.3. So let's just go over everything briefly. Sisters. Buffs across the board. A bunch of characters nobody took, but Celestine and Retributors went down. That's honestly pretty good. Celestine is a pretty good model. She's like Marnius Calgar, basically, if you don't play Sisters. She's like a worse Marnius Calgar, but that's still a pretty good unit, I think. Alright. Custodes. Guard went down, and a few of the Sisters went down, but only in big squads. And we have a Land Raider change. This will translate across all factions. The Land Raider is getting 20 points cheaper. That's the one with the last cannons. And the Shield Captain is cheaper. The Shield Captain is the worst Custodes character, and for some reason he was the most expensive for absolutely no reason. I don't know why it went down 10. It should have gone down like 40. The Shield Captain is really bad. Alright. Mechanicus. Call went up 40 points. That's what you pay for Oath of Moment. And then the Iron Striders went up because they gained Twin Linked on their guns. So that's a thing. AdMech went up, so something happened. Adeptus Titanicus, not relevant. Eldar. This is a weird one. Corsairs went down as a big man and went up as a small one. Corsairs were like seen as like an action unit, but Avatar of Cain went down 20. That's scary because the Avatar is busted sometimes. Sometimes it dies to grenades, but keep an eye on this one. The Avatar, ooh, not a big fan of seeing the Avatar back. Azurman got reduced, which is fine because Azurman was only broken when the Codex came out with the dev wounds on freeze. So now Azurman is actually like, he fulfills a role now and you can actually take him. Wraithblades went down, Dire Avengers, nothing here. Swooping Hawks, they were terrorizing the World Championships. And now they are back up as the 10-man squad. Yeah, Swooping Hawks were doing some crazy stuff. And most importantly, Eldar didn't go up on anything I want them to go up in. Warp Spiders are busted. Lycus is busted. Fire Dragons, completely busted. And that's just what it is. Nothing on Inari. Inari are still dead. I hope they stay dead. That's what it is. Astra Militarum. Most of the things that went down are just Bane blades nobody wants to use, but Leontis drops by 20. Gaunt's Ghost dropped by 10. Pretty good. The combat engineers, they got nerfed in their rule, I believe, so them going down probably doesn't do anything, but yeah, that's what that is. So, uh, I don't know what guards doing right now. Not really seeing them around much. Black Templars, no changes. The codex just came out. Blood Angels, Sanguinary Guard went up. That's because, remember earlier when I said Sanguinary Guard now hits on 2s in combat. So they went up for the small one and for the big one. I think this is an interesting discussion as someone who plays against Blood Angels a lot. I think hitting on 2s is a massive buff for Angelic Inheritors, because in Angelic Inheritors you always reroll once to hidden wound, and having that access to that rule is so good if you hit on 2s, because it essentially means your entire army doesn't need Oath of Moment. And if we take 3 of these units with a captain, and remember the captain went down in the last update, the captain went down, so it's now 205 for a 3-man plus captain. That is not that expensive for what that unit does in combat. That's not that expensive. All of it hits on 2s, all of it wounds on whatever, and rerolls 1s. And it just doesn't need Oath. It just doesn't need Oath. 615 points of your army don't need Oath to kill anything. I guess you're taking Dante, but Dante's rule doesn't do anything now. Funny enough, Sanguinary God still hits on 3s when shooting. That's a bit weird. They can't aim guns, but they can aim swords. But yeah. What I also wanted to talk about, the 3-man units in the regular Blood Angels detachment in the Liberator Assault group, I think in that detachment where you don't attach a character to them, that is honestly fine. You can just run them as like a beating unit. And you don't need the character now, because you essentially got like out of your 12 attacks, you would normally hit 8 of them. Now you hit 10. Like that's just a straight up buff. I think that's just a straight up good buff. Yeah, I think Blood Angels will be fine. Chaos Demons, Keepers went down, Fiends went down. Keep an eye out on Fiends. Fiends are deceptively pretty good. They have 4 wounds per model, which makes the damage-free shooting that's everywhere in the game a lot worse than to them. And they actually hit pretty decently into elite infantry with death wounds and 522 with like 4 attacks per model. Fiends are pretty good. I like Fiends a lot. Fiends are great. I think no enhancement went up. Chaos Knights, no point changes. They got rules changes, and I think that was fine. And they got point changes last time. Chaos Space Marines, buffs actually, and 1 nerf. The Dark Commune went up because it always goes up. I don't know why, but it's what it is. The Venom Crawler went down, pretty good. I like the Venom Crawler. I think it was a bit underrated. Abaddon went down. That's going to be pretty happy for the Abaddon fans. Nothing on enhancements. Dark Angels. The Dark Shroud went down by 15. That's a lot, actually. The Dark Shroud might actually open the door to like double Stormraven Stormlands, where you have a Ravenwing Dark Shroud and you have 2 Storm Ravens, and then you give one of them the strat for -1 hidden wound, and the other one is close to the Dark Shroud, and then you just flank around and kill people. It might actually be good. Who knows? Death Guard, no points changes at all, because they got points changes last time. Let's see how it goes. I think Death Guard got hit pretty hard, but I don't think they got hit in a way that actually makes the army more fun to play against. Because instead of playing against like 12 vehicles, now you play against 9 vehicles, and you still don't see Plague Marines. It's a bit of a shame. Deathwatch, big point drops on everything. This is actually pretty good. I think Deathwatch is a solid army. It's very one-dimensional, but I think this is actually pretty good for Deathwatch players. Like, if you think about it, they run like triple Watchmaster all the time. That's 30 points. They probably run like a Fortis team and stuff. Like, it adds up. They can probably afford another unit in their lineup. Dark Eldar. The Kronos went down on the big squad. I think there's no real change here because Dark Eldar are getting their codex soon. And I hope that's just the reason why nothing's happening with Dark Eldar. Emperor's Children. The Lord Cacophonist goes up for some reason. I don't know. I don't know. Fulgrim goes down by 25. You'll not see him, I think, but it's nice. Fiends once again. Fiends. Wait, where are they? Fiends. Oh, they didn't go down here. They only went down on demons. Let me recheck that. Chaos demons. No, they went down on both. Oh, they were already down on Emperor's Children? I didn't even know. That's how much you know you'd never see the demon detachment because I didn't even know they were cheaper in in EC. Okay, so they didn't change, but yeah, maybe something's going on here. Flawless Blades not going up and getting an attack is completely justified because they were just garbage. They were so bad. I played a unit of them and they were terrible. Flawless Blades, Godspeed. I hope that attack helps. GSC, melee units down and shooting units up, basically. That's what it is. Grey Knights, point drops on Land Raiders. Nothing else. I repeat myself, I do not know what Grey Knights do. I have not looked into it at all. Agent of the Imperium, the Death Watch stuff went down because, hey, I think Patrick's gonna be real happy about getting 20 extra points. Maybe he can afford a sick enhancement. I don't know. Don't know what he's gonna do. All right. Imperial Knights, don't look at any of this. This is just the points they got in the last one. This is now just index to codex points, which we already saw last week. Nothing worse. Maybe the enhancements, but I have nothing to say about that. Leaks of Votan, no changes. The book just came out. Necrons. Triarch Praetorians went down, which is fine. They are like an incredibly mediocre melee unit. And the Silent King went down 20 points. I was really upset about this when I read that. And then I noticed that the rule he lost was the ignore modifiers, and that makes sense. Okay. The Silent King is incredibly strong. It is one of the hardest models in the game to kill. But not having the ignore modifier aura makes it a lot less oppressive to play against Necrons. Just shooting you off the table. Orcs. Point drops on everything. Point drops on everything. Good for orcs. I think we are going to see orcs back in the game. Here we go. Space Marines. Let's see what's going on over here. Aggressors are now down on the big squad. Remember last time the small squad went down and nobody played them. And now the big squad is going down and nobody is gonna play them. There, I said it. I think, I don't know. Maybe I'll give it a shot, but I think aggressors are just not good. They don't do anything right now, but hey, who knows? Aggressors down on the big squad. Good for the Firestorm believers, I guess. Land Raider down. Land Raider Redeemer down. That's pretty good, actually. I think the Redeemer might have some life in it nowadays. Might actually be worth running a Redeemer again. Assault Intercessors with jump packs up on the big squad. So the big squad went from 160 to 170. I don't know why. I have no idea why they went up because Vanguard veterans didn't go up. I don't know who's playing 10-man JPIs in like tournaments. I haven't seen them, but I don't know. Ballistus Dreadnought up 10 points. So this was about to be expected, and I want to talk about this for a bit. So here's the important piece. The Ballistus Dreadnought is not a good anti-tank unit by itself. The Ballistus Dreadnought will put some damage into whatever you shoot at. It will not kill whatever you shoot at, for the most part. Even though the floor, like the ceiling on a Ballistus Dreadnought is like 14 on the last cannon, and then 4 on the bolter, and then 12 more on the rockets. That's never gonna happen. what happens is you are shooting a rhino and you putting like 3 damage into it. Maybe 4 or 6. But you will never kill something with 1 Ballistus Dread. What the Ballistus Dreadnought does is being tough and being reliable at doing those 3 to 4 damage. It will do that every time. The Ballistus Dreadnought doesn't need Oath, but it appreciates it. And the Ballistus Dreadnought was the thing you would take in your list just to have a gun. Just to have a big shooting unit in your melee army so you could just shoot the gun. I think this point change kills it for that role. You will never take a Ballistus again just as your shooting unit. Just as I'm standing in your backline and I have a long range gun. I think that is completely gone by going up 10 points. What I don't think this will fix is the Gladius parking lot, which runs triple Ballistus, puts them on an objective marker with 12 OC, and then it just shoots you across the field and has 2-up saves with rerolls and armor of contempt and whatever. And if you kill one, the other 2 shoot back, and there's a Vindicator out of reserve doing the thing. I think that list goes up 30 points and you move on with your life. If that list is still good, it will not change, and if that list is not good, you will never see a Ballistus Dread ever again. That's just what's gonna happen here. Next, Blade Guard veterans go up 10 points. This is the part in the editing where I'm gonna edit out the fact that I'm using slurs right now. What the hell is happening? What is happening here? This is... Who is running Blade Guard at all? Last time I saw Blade Guard was at my RTT with Librarius and I lost 2 games. What happened? Who is Blade Guarding? I haven't seen a Blade Guard veteran in a year. I don't know what's going on. This is a stealth nerf to Tigorius, actually. The Tigorius Blade Guard unit I was not taking because it was bad into Knights and Death Guard. And everything else because of damage-free guns. What is going on? Why is the big Blade Guard unit going up in points? Who is running Blade Guard? I haven't seen a Blade Guard veteran. So, I'm repeating myself because I'm so confused and mad. Like you have time to do this, but you can't put the eliminators down to 60 or something? What? Who is doing this? What's going on? The eliminators got nerfed 3 years ago on their rule, and they still have the points from before they got nerfed. And then you have Blade Guard going up for what? What is happening? James, come on. All right. Here we go. I did what was promised, okay? The Gladiator Valiant goes down 10 points and is now 150. That's the one with the Melter. It has the Last Talon on top. It is twin-linked and it gets +1 to hit if it targets the closest vehicle, right? I think that's what it is. I think the Valiant might actually be a stealth winner here. Maybe only if you're playing Salamanders or if you're a Firestorm fan to go up by 1 strength, but keep an eye on this. I'm curious if the Valiant might actually do something. I like the Valiant more than the Lancer because the Valiant just has more shots. The Lancer has 2 shots, one of which will never hit or wound, and the other one will keep bouncing into an invuln save and nothing happens. But the Valiant actually has a bunch of shots. It has 2 multi-melters, that's 4, and the Last Talon, that's 2, that's 10 shots. That's basically like a Ballistus Dread, just without the innate rerolls. I'm curious. Battle Brothers, please tell me if you have some things to say about the Valiant. I wouldn't be surprised if it was actually good. Right, yeah, Land Raider we talked about. Here we go. The Redemptor Dreadnought, down by 15. Now, this is a conversation we have to have. Is the Redemptor Dreadnought back? And this is complicated, because you see the Redemptor Dreadnought occasionally in like some Ironstorm list. You see like, oh, here's a Redemptor Dreadnought. Toby was wrong about putting it into F tier, and I'm not, because the Redemptor is terrible. It's still terrible, but now is it cheap enough to justifiably being terrible? Okay, the Redemptor Dreadnought still has the problem it doesn't do a single point of damage into anything. If you think Ballistus Dreadnoughts are inconsistent, shoot a Redemptor at a knight and just see how you did more damage to yourself on the Hazardous than you did into the knight. It is pathetic. Redemptors are so garbage at killing anything. Their melee profile is a joke. If you kill 2 scouts with a Redemptor Dreadnought, you're rolling above average. It is pathetic. It is so bad in combat. It is unbelievable. The plasma cannon is so inconsistent. It doesn't do anything relevant into anything I want to kill. And that's not what you take the Redemptor for. The Redemptor is tough. It is -1 damage and has 12 wounds. Previously, you would get 3 Ballistus Dreadnoughts for the price of 2 Redemptors. That was so sad, because if you factor in -1 damage, 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts are 24 wounds, and triple Ballistus was 36 wounds, which is just more wounds per point than if you factor in the -1 damage on average, like if something's shooting at you. That's just what it is. It is more expensive than the Vindicator, and it does no damage at all in shooting. It does no damage in combat. It does even less than it does in shooting, to be fair. But -1 damage to up save. It's not hopeless. Like, it's not hopeless. The problem is still, knights are probably still an S tier army, and everyone is bringing anti-tank. Like, you can have -1 damage as much as you want. If you play into Eldar with like 10 fire dragons and a wave serpent hopping in and out, that Redemptor Dreadnought is just dead. It's just gone, and you paid for nothing. But I don't know. It's difficult. Do we keep an eye on this? I'm not sure. Do we keep an eye on the Redemptor Dreadnought? I might have to give it a shot. Or like 6 shots, because that's the most you will get out of firing 3 of them and rolling shots for the plasma cannon. But it's definitely interesting. I wonder. Necrons losing ignore modifiers is actually also pretty big here, because now there is basically nothing left that can ignore -1 damage, right? I'm trying to think. Is there anything else in the game which can ignore -1 damage? Outside of like being more damage or whatever. Because ignore all mods. There's Imperium's sword in no wait, what was it? Forged in Champion of Humanity in Firestorm. Thank you. There's Champion of Humanity in Firestorm. And other than that, is there any ignore modifiers left in any codex? Like, Death Guard lost it. Necron's now lost it. Custodes lost it. I think that's it, right? Please tell me in the comments if I'm forgetting something, but I think ignore modifiers is now just out. And maybe the Redemptor has a lease on life here. I'm not convinced yet. Just because it doesn't do anything. It doesn't kill anything, but like, if you go triple Vindicator, triple Redemptor, that's a lot of 2-up save, tough stuff. Like, I wouldn't want to play against that. That sounds annoying. But yeah, I don't know. Last but not least, we have one last points change, and it's on Robute Gilliman. Robute Gilliman goes up 20 points because they want to sell you a Raven Guard character. Yeah. That one stings. We are basically now worse than what we were when we had all of the command points, basically. So last time, Calgar and Gilliman went down by 35, and we lost the extra command points. So the list went down 35 points. We got the extra CP, and we lost the extra CP. And the list still worked fine. Less people have been playing it. I'm the only one who keeps winning with it. A skill issue, but basically it didn't really change. Now the list goes up 50 points because triple ballistas and Gilliman. I don't even know what to cut because if I look at my GT list, which was basically exactly 2k, but I was running 15 points enhancement on the lieutenant, which I didn't need, so I was at 1985. So if that goes up 50, that means we are at 2035. So basically I have to cut. Boah, this is tough. I might have to cut like. You might have to cut down to the ATV again. So you cut down. Like you have a scout squad, an incursor squad, and an infiltrator squad. That's basically what the thing was. And you might have to go back to an ATV over the infiltrators or something. You might have to go like 35 points is really awkward to cut out of that list. Maybe the Gladiator Reaper has to go for something else. I'm not sure. I'll be looking back on that in some way. I will do my testing, but yeah, I don't think this is obviously gonna hurt, but maybe it's time for a different Ultramarine list to come back. Maybe it's time to go back to the Stormlands, but even the Stormlands goes up 40 points. That's a lot. That's a lot. I wonder what John has to say about that. I might have to ask him on the AOW Discord, but yeah. So that's basically it. So Space Marines. Yeah, we got one interesting drop in the Redemptor Dreadnought, and keep going back to the Valiant. I think the Valiant might actually be legit. Yeah. Utter confusion about what's going on with Blade Guard here. I am flabbergasted on that. Alright. Space Wolves go up on 20 Blood Claws, because that was apparently too strong for the World Teams Tournament. Stuff goes up. Thunderwolves go up. Ragnar goes up. So this might actually be the end of the MSU Space Wolves, and you might have to now play against 18 Thunderwolf Stormland Space Wolves again, and I don't know what's going on. So you'll tell me. I don't know Space Wolves at all. Tau. Broadsides go down. Good for them. Farsight goes down. A bunch of stuff go down. Fire Knife suits. Pretty good. Sunforged suits. That's also pretty good. Fireside team. That's the lone op. 60-point lone op. Pretty good. Though I think Tau had pretty good lone ops with the crew, right? I think one of the crew is a lone op. But yeah. Thousand Suns. Here we go. One green thing. Oh no, a few green things. Okay. I talked about Thousand Suns in the slate, and it's getting a bit long here in the video. So all of the Zangor stuff goes up, thankfully. The +1 damage thing goes up, thankfully. Infernal Master goes up, Magnus goes up. All of this is deserved. The Mutilith Vortex Beast going up by 15 is a lot. You might not see more than one anymore. I think maybe you only run one Vortex Beast now, and now you play Predators. I think a lot of people are underrating this thing. The Thousand Suns Predator, the Predator Annihilator is nuts. That thing is so good, and nobody's running it. I think that is low-key one of the best tanks in the game. The Predator is insane. It is so good. Thousand Suns Predator is legit amazing. The Sekar robots going down by 10 points is really good. The Sekar robots didn't see a lot of play because everyone was obsessed with Zangors, but these things are really good. 2 robots are so easy to hide in like a ruin or something. It is absurd. Really, really good. The 10-man Terminators go down by 15. I might actually jump into like a few Thousand Suns games here, because I'm always looking for getting a few Terminators up and running. I'm a Terminator guy. You know me. So yeah, that's what it is. Thousand Suns. Here we go. Tyranids, Gene Stealers go down on the big squad. Seems fine. The Turvigon goes down. That's an interesting one because that one's seeing play all over the place. The Morlock goes down. I have not seen a Morlock in forever. Even in the tunnel detachment, nothing's going on. The Neurolictor is going down. I think that's justified. Tyranids might actually need the damage buff, and I haven't seen a Neurolictor in forever. So, yeah, going down on the Neurolictor is actually okay. I like it. I like it. That's fine. Alright. And last but not least, World Eaters. The spawn go up, and thankfully so, because the spawn was busted. Angron going down. I have not seen Angron since the change. Everyone has been playing with Scarbrand, but yeah, I guess so. Angron is a lot worse than it was before. You don't lose the game if he revives like you used to on turn 2 or something. 8 bound go down. That's actually pretty good because now World Eaters will actually play combat units in their World Eaters army. The Forge Fiend goes up. It needed to. I hope this actually means you only see 2 in the list instead of 3 of them, because the World Eater's Forge Fiend was actually oppressive as hell. That model was broken. Karn the Betrayer goes up to 100, completely deserved. Karn is really strong. Has a 2-up revive, which means he will never revive once. But yeah, that's just what happens. Yeah, Karn really good unit just by himself as a solo model, in my opinion. And the Forge Fiend, one of the best models in the entire game, goes up. Same with the Spawn. But in exchange, Terminators go down, 8 bound go down. This is the big one. I think the average normal detachment, which was it, the Berserker Warband, I think those lists will cut a Forge Fiend and then use those points to just run Exalted 8 bound and some stuff. I think World Eaters are in a good place. Maybe cut one spawn squad, keep one, something like that. I don't know. And that's the end of it. So we did a whole data slate review, got it done in an hour. Thank you so much for watching. Tell me what you agree with. Tell me what you don't agree with. Tell me what you want to try out as a Space Marine player. I would be pretty interesting if you make Aggressors work and you tell me in the comments. And yeah, I'm still working on the GT video. It's a bigger one, and I will still make it because mostly it's still the same thing. I will just cut out the segment on Challenger cards because it's no longer relevant, and that's basically it. With that said, courage and honor, Battle Brothers. We march for McCraig.